What's good, y'all? In today's video, we're going to be talking about a character that usually looked at as in a comical sense and never really a serious sense, and that's going to be Buggy. So, obviously, the very beginning of the series, Buggy is introduced. It's like, just our first real antagonist. I'm not really considering Alvida, even though she is technically the first antagonist, but we're going to go ahead and go with Buggy because he's like the one that actually hits home, and he's also the one that's still relevant to this day and has always been relevant throughout the series. So we get introduced to Buggy, and Buggy is obviously, he is a pirate. He is very cruel, and he steals, and he basically lives like he lives how pirates are supposed to live. Like when we think of pirates, like they're all about treasure. They don't care about rules and laws. They're doing whatever they want, and Buggy embodies this early on, and he's kind of the symbolic, obstacle for Luffy to show what real treasure is, because not all treasure is just gold, and that's like what's hammered home in Orange Town. Is like there's different treasures. You have the treasures of the dog being the pets of the owner's store that is no longer with him, and he's just trying. He wants to protect the owner's store, even though he doesn't. I mean, the owner's not really going to come back. And then there's the treasure, obviously, of the mayor and being like the town is his treasure, and it's been with his family and whatnot throughout generations. And then we get to Luffy, and Luffy's treasure is his hat. So then we see Buggy try and like destroy that. So Buggy basically had destroyed everybody's treasure or hurt it in some form or fact in that arc. But his ideal of treasure was just gold, money, power, stuff like that. But, we get introduced to that, and we find out that, he's pretty much like that, atypical pirate and whatnot. And we kind of just, we deal with him, and we don't really think too much of it at the time, and he makes an appearance throughout the story. One time he eventually shows up in Logtown. And, what's funny about this is, obviously we find out that, early on, we find out that Buggy was a part of Shanks' crew. We don't find out that it's actually Roger's crew until later on, but we see him and Shanks together. Obviously, that's creating Shanks and Luffy connection. It makes that triangle. I just did that show so wrong, but they make that triangle of the characters being linked in some type of way. Granted, Luffy and Shanks are two totally different pirates, but they're still all intertwined together, and it's fitting that they show up at Logtown, and Buggy shares a moment with Luffy on the same scaffold that Buggy's former captain died on. And it's kind of symbolic that Buggy is the one trying to execute Luffy, who's going to eventually become the next Pirate King. And also where we're at right now, obviously Buggy is in the running for Pirate King, even though nobody really thinks he's going to get it, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So when you sit there and think about it, all right, so we have, him showing us the treasures, like different meaning of treasures in Orange Town. We're sharing the connection in Logtown with the Pirate King. And then, all right, so now you got to think about it. When is the next time we see him? In Pale Down. So one thing that Mihawk mentions, obviously, in Marineford is that Luffy's greatest power is his being able to draw people together. What a lot of people don't realize is in the Pale Down, like as Luffy was doing all the crazy stunts and whatnot, Buggy was right there with him, drawing in his own people. Granted, it wasn't a comical, non-real, like, serious, like they don't know the legit reason they're actually following Buggy. They're kind of just following him because they think he's like powerful and they think he's like, famous and stuff like that. So it's kind of like blind following, but it's still something drawing them to Buggy. And it's continued into the New World. So you have to realize that like both Luffy and Buggy shared connections with Shanks. Both Luffy and Buggy have different views of being a pirate, but they still enjoy being a pirate. Then they have the Logtown connection of them, like obviously sharing the moment on the scaffold where the last Pirate King died. And then you have to think about it from the Impel Down standpoint. both characters exhibit both of the same, like, kind of like, not power, but just that way of nature of being able to draw people in and work with you. And that's obviously, like Mihawk said, as Mihawk being one of the top tiers of the sea, that is the strongest power possible. Because if you're able to amass mass amounts of people that truly believe in you and truly follow you, that's going to be greater than almost any weapon that you can find. Obviously, if you want to get technical, like obviously there's, if it's just like a whole bunch of fodder and there's just a strong person, but we're not going to, get into that. But that's that point. And then now we have in New World. Obviously, it's pretty comical how Buggy has made his way, from a regular East Blue pirate to a warlord to, well, actually, East Blue pirate to in jail to got out, became a warlord, and then now he's a Yonko, one of the 4 Yonko. And granted, it is funny how all this stuff happened, but it still speaks to the levels of resilience that Buggy has. Even though we know as the readers that he should have been fucked up and got caught. He obviously did get caught and impaled down, but some other pirate could have taken care of him and whatnot. And then we have Crossguild, obviously. And Crossguild is partially the reason why he became a Yonko, of course, because you have Crocodile and you have Mihawk, not underneath him, but in the grand scheme of things, from the Navy standpoint, they are underneath Buggy. But you have to look at it as like Crocodile and Mihawk, both superior in fighting, and Crocodile's and Mihawk's probably intellect are probably still better than him as well, but they don't have what Buggy has. They don't have the ability to draw people in and have people believe in them. They can do it with fear, but people that are working for you out of fear and people that are working for you out of love and respect, it's totally different. They're going to feel totally different, and you're going to get different productions. So you have to think about it. It's just like Mihawk, what was he? He was always alone. He's like, whenever he was on the sea, he was alone by himself. When he was in his castle, the most people he had was Perona, and then he had Zoro for that little time frame. And then I don't know if you want to count the monkeys. You might want to count the monkeys. I don't think he's out there talking to monkeys, but maybe he knows some type of monkey language. Who knows? But then you have Crocodile, and you're like, okay, he ran, the organization that he ran. He did, but it was behind an alias that nobody really got to see him or know him. And if they did see him or know him, not with him intending it, they were killed. So how can you really truly be devoted to somebody that you're not even allowed to know what they look like or their actual name? So then we get to the Buggy, obviously, and I constantly keep hammering, is his innate ability to bring people together. And we see that in one of the latest chapters where Buggy is basically just declaring that he wants to go for the One Piece, and he gets the rest of his crew, on board. Obviously, Mihawk and Crocodile, they're not with it, but they see that they're the minority, and it'd be weak of them. It would look weak of them to not go through with it. So you just need to understand that Luffy is the main character, and he has the traits that we enjoy. Buggy is not the antithesis. I can't say the word correctly, but Blackbeard is his opposite, obviously. Blackbeard, like Buggy, enjoys piracy and wants to be a true pirate. But what they go about it in different ways. Buggy, even though he does seem, especially in Orange Town's introduction, he does seem very underhanded and not very morally just. When you peel the layers back and you actually look at it, Buggy is a lot more morally just than say somebody like Blackbeard. Blackbeard is all me, get what I want, basically, and he's going to use whatever he can. Not to say Buggy doesn't have some of those traits, but Buggy still, you can see he wanted Shanks to be the Pirate King. He was willing to follow Shanks because he realized that Shanks, his brother, he considered him his brother at the time, was fit to take up Roger's place. But he was like, his, not really his pride, but like he was hurt when he found out that Shanks didn't want it. Shanks was giving up. Shanks didn't, believe in himself the way that Buggy believed in Shanks. So this caused Buggy to sit there and question, like, well, if Shanks doesn't want to do it, then I'll do it. But somewhere on down the road, he got lost, and in just like the piracy of it all. Like, he just cares all about the treasure and stuff like that. And he wasn't really looking for the Pirate King, like, actively. He wasn't trying to be the Pirate King actively. But I believe, like, the current, like, the sequence of events that happened with obviously meeting Luffy. And I think seeing Luffy and like constantly dealing with Luffy, it hasn't been like straight up blatantly shown to us, but I do believe it awakened like that belief that Buggy had in Shanks when he sees Luffy and he sees how Luffy's interacting. He sees that this kid is doing what Shanks didn't want to do when Shanks could have easily done it. So now that's why I think whenever Shanks and Buggy do meet, I feel like Buggy's going to have, obviously he's going to be hostile, because they always have the hostile, like, little comedic moments and whatnot. But I do believe it'll be a lot more genuine, like, realistic hate, like, because it's like, wow, now you want to be the Pirate King. Now you want to go for the One Piece. Now that I'm, like, so close to obtaining it, now you decide you want to go after it and fucking, make the captain's wishes become true and whatnot. It's just like, it'll feel way more genuine to me. It'll feel more real. Obviously, the whole, he just is mad at Shanks because Shanks made him lose the ability to swim because he scared him into eating the devil fruit, which caused him not to be able to go underwater and get a treasure chest. That obviously always seemed surface level. It didn't seem enough to like actually like for him to hate Shanks as much as he did. And obviously it took us like over 1,000 chapters to actually find out that yes, there was actually more to it. And you can argue and say like, oh, Oda just added that in, of course. But I mean, we could say that about every series. But nevertheless, this was just a quick little video just discussing about how Buggy is not just a comical relief character, as a lot of people see him. And even though a lot of his scenes are about comedy and being comical, but this last, like, I think it was 1082, we get to see a lot more, like, of a genuine, character moment side. Buggy is, like, he's going to try his hardest to actually accomplish his dream. So, if you liked the video, please hit the like button, comment down, let me know what you thought, and hit that subscribe button. It helps out a lot. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace.